All right, we are rocking and rolling. This is episode number 10. We finally hit double digits. We are here from the PPSA House of Pain, where we get it on in the rack, cook some ribs with the green egg. We are rocking and rolling. So special guest today, co-worker. Excited to get him on here. It's actually kind of a special moment here. He's going to be able to just kind of trade seats with me. He lives only a couple blocks away. So it's a pretty neat situation. So I'm going to jump out of the chair, let Big Tony Webb come in the chair and rock and roll with this. So let's trade it out. All right. I'm out. Big Tony's in.
All right, what's up, everybody? First off, I want to thank AA for having me on. It's a true privilege and a true honor. True story, about a year and a half ago, I was actually saving up money to be able to fly up here from Baton Rouge just to come be able to train here in the PPSA garage. And now to be able to sit here in the actual seat, in the rack, and represent, it's a true honor, and I can't thank AA enough of it. But today, what we're going to be talking about is the teaching and implementation of the Olympic lifts. And one thing I want to make very clear is what we're talking about today in these progressions that we're going over is not what necessarily that we do here at USC. All right, what we're talking about today is the teaching progressions and the model that Coach Gil Hatch used. And if you don't know who Coach Gil Hatch is, I highly suggest you look him up and learn. He was the head coach of the 2004 Olympics over in Athens, Greece. He has done so much for our field. He's done a tremendous amount for my career. Him and Matt Bruce, they're two of my earliest mentors. And just look him up. You can't imagine everything that he's done for our field. Again, the man has his own exhibit in the Smithsonian up in DC. He's ranked top 10 in the country. And one thing I was able to receive several years back was my Hatch Leader shirt from Gil Hatch. And it's one of the largest accomplishments that I've been able to make in my career. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So the first thing, guys, is weightlifting and training for sport and performance. And the reasons why. Why? They're ground-based. You're going to create force by driving against the ground. Triple extension. That is the goal, Jim. That's what we all strive to be able to do. The next thing is that the Olympic lifts, they're very time efficient. Obviously, you're going to be able to work multiple muscle groups with one exercise. And obviously, we're going to get full body development, develops a kinesthetic awareness, increases hypertrophy, neural adaptations. I mean, we're going to get intramuscular coordination. We're going to get intermuscular coordination through synchronization. And obviously, it's an efficient way to train the core. I remember what AA said one day. He's never done a crunch in his life, but his core is very strong. Okay, so that's a little bit of the reasons why I'm a big fan of the Olympic lifts. This right here is just a slide that kind of explains the amount of power that you're able to put out. So if you look through here, as far as watts, the bench press for the male, you're talking about 300 watts. The back squat, 1,100. The deadlift, 1,100 watts. The snatch, as far as the full snatch, the full movement, 3,000. Now the second pull, the snatch and the clean, you're up to 5,500 watts. But if you look at the very, very bottom, the jerk is able to produce 5,400 watts of power. That is more power than any other lift known to man. Okay, so again, just kind of driving home the point why I believe that the Olympic lifts are so important and so beneficial. They also require a ton of mobility, which we all know. Mobility through the ankles, the hips, the spine, the shoulders, and your primary movements you're going to do through every rep. I mean, you're going to do a deadlifting pattern, a squatting pattern, overhead pressing, some type of row, and then obviously you're going to jump, whether it be through your shift, the hip width, the shoulder width, or the split in the split jerk. So what is the holistic? Defined of or relating to holism. And this is coming straight out of WEBB. All right, relating to or concerned with wholes or with complete systems rather than the analysis of, treatment of, or dissection into parts. And what I really want you to pay attention to here is the highlighted part of the definition, dissection into parts. So what the holistic means is that we're going to teach all the Olympic lifts as a whole versus breaking them down into segments. So example would be, we're going to teach the clean from the floor up versus breaking it down from a top to bottom progression. So with teaching it through a whole in a holistic manner, everything all together, this is the progression that we use. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to teach the back squat. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to teach the front squat. And then we're going to go to the clean grip pull. Now, we do break the clean grip pull down slightly. The first thing we're going to teach is the setup. The next thing we're going to teach is the clean grip deadlift. And then we're going to go into the clean grip pull. Once we have that figured out, we're going to go into the clean. From there, the first thing we're going to teach is the footwork. We're going to line everybody up and we're going to teach them how to shift hip width to shoulder width. And we're going to drive this home. Remember, there's going to be power in the shift. Slow feet, don't eat. From after we get the footwork down, we're going to then move to the power clean. From there, we're going to go to the power clean with front squat. Now, this is 2 movements. So you hit the power clean, stand up, take a deep breath, do not move the feet. Complete a full front squat all the way down, all the way up, and then drop it. And then from there, we're going to do the squat clean. That is the majority of the teaching. From there, we use positions to critique the technique. So we go 3 position power cleans. That's top to bottom. That'll be above the knee, below the knee, and then from the floor. And then we'll go to 3 position squat cleans. Again, above the knee, below the knee, and then from the floor. And the 3 position squat clean is more to work on timing underneath the bar. Next, we'll go to the snatch pull. And again, the same thing. We'll go with the snatch setup, the snatch grip deadlift, the snatch pull. Once you have that figured out, we're going to go into what Coach Hatch called 3 and 3s. Now, everybody asks, what are 3 and 3s? It's a very simple lift, but very, very beneficial. You're going to unrack the bar. There'll be 3 snatch grip presses behind the neck. On the 3rd rep, you hold it, move your feet from hip width to shoulder width, and then perform 3 overhead squats. From there, we'll go into our snatch, and we'll go power snatch with overhead squat. Again, 2 movements, 2 breaths, and then the full snatch, where we're taking from the floor, overhead, and catch in the full squat. And last but certainly not least is the jerk. And a progression of the jerk would be barbell strict press in front of the neck, push press behind the neck, push press in front of the neck, our footwork, and that is the split. And then we'll go to a split jerk behind the neck and a split jerk in front of the neck. And the reason why we use this progression, I want to back up a little bit. We go back squat. In the Hatch system, we don't have a full assessment, I would guess, as far as a screening. We use the holistic to be able to watch the athlete and figure out their weaknesses. Obviously, if he's struggling with the back squat, he can't hit depth, watch the ankle mobility, elbows are going forward, lacking mobility in the T-spine or the chest, shoulders, etc. And then we continue to work down to see all these flaws, and that is what we use for our screening. The first thing that we teach again is the back squat. And guys, I want to be very clear. I understand this stuff is very simple, but in this time, I've really used this to go back and to drive home the fundamentals. Me, myself, I haven't actually studied this in probably over a year, so it's been great for me. And I want to drive home again that there's 1,000 different ways to be able to teach the Olympic lifts, the squats, but this is how at the Hatch Dome we've done it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, address the bar, ensure that you have an even clean grip with a thumb length grip across the knurling. And what we always do is take the notch of the thumb, put on the knurling, and we start there for everybody. And obviously, everybody's body types are different. And from there, we're able to move the grips out. But again, it gives us a baseline to be able to see the mobility, flexibility that the athletes have. From there, squeeze your shoulder blades together, take a high position on the traps. Again, this is a high bar Olympic style back squat. All right, this is not a low bar. This is not a powerlifting style back squat. It is an Olympic style back squat. Our feet are going to be shoulder width apart, toes slightly pointed out. And when I say shoulder width apart, we're looking at our heels to be directly underneath our armpits. From here, we want to make sure our feet are screwed into the floor, pressure throughout the middle of the foot, and our toes, we're never up on our toes. So yes, you'll hear the cue, heels, heels, heels. You hear that a lot in the college setting. Even though it's not completely accurate, it's a solid tool when guys are getting too far up front. But again, we want that foot to be screwed in, even distribute the weight across the entire foot. We want our chest up, back arch, and look straight ahead, never up. Eyes are always straight. Take a deep breath, brace, go down, control, and then we're going to explode up and make sure our knees are always staying over our toes, never allowing the knees to buckle in. Anytime the knees are buckling in, as most of us know, that is a sign of weakness. So after we've established the back squat, we then move on to the front squat. The front squat, we're going to address that bar. We're going to use that clean grip, and we're wanting to make sure that our grip is as close as the clean as possible, because the front squat is nothing more than an assistant exercise to the clean. So as we address the bar, have a clean grip, push the elbows up and out. And when I say out, I don't necessarily mean here. A lot of the athletes that we deal with, when you say just up, they're all buckled in the upper back cage. So up, slightly out to where the elbows are up and parallel. Feet are shoulder width apart. Again, toes are slightly out. Pressure through the middle of the foot, chest up and back. Take deep breath, down control, and explode up. Everything that we do, we want to come out of the hole as explosive as possible. And now one thing I want to say is when I'm going through the Hatch 8 and I'm teaching the holistic, one thing that I like to do, I think frequency is king whenever you're talking about teaching. So what I've done in the past, and I've found it being very, very beneficial, is that we take 5 days in a row, hour-and-a-half blocks, and we drive it home every single day. So on the first day, we literally will not do anything but back and front squat for an hour and a half. And there's several reasons that I like doing that. One, I've never heard a guy come back for day 2 and say they were not sore whenever you squatted for an hour and a half. And two, I want to drive home the importance of the squat. It is a staple in the Hatch system and also a staple here at USC and how important the squat is. So from day 1, I want to drive home how important this squat is in this program. If you cannot squat well, not necessarily a lot of weight, but if you cannot squat well, you're not going to be very successful in this program. After the front squat has done, breaking down the assessment, this is a picture of Kendrick Ferris, who is known as being one of the most flexible athletes in weightlifting. If the fingers are popping off the bar, you got restrictions in the wrists and the forearms. If the elbows drop, restriction in the lats, pecs, and the T-spine. From there, we start going over the clean pull. Now, in the clean pull, the first pull, that's going to be from the floor up to the below the knee position. The first thing that we have got to do is we got to measure out the grip. Okay, it's got to be even, it's got to be consistent. The second thing is our feet. Our feet have got to be placed hip width. And dealing with college athletes, for some reason, this seems to be one of the hardest things for them to do is be consistent with their hands and with their feet. And when you're consistently being inconsistent, obviously that's going to lead to problems. So it's so important that our grip and our feet are very consistent. Now, obviously there's different body types. There's different femur lengths, shoulder widths, etc. So these grips might vary to the individual, but whatever their style is, it's got to be consistent. From there, our bar is going to be placed over the middle of the foot. All right, bar should be touching the shins. Remember, always bring the bar to the body not to the bar. Make sure we set the back in, pinch the shoulder blades together, create a steel rod down the back. And I love that cue, steel rod. Knowing how strong that your back truly is. Steel rod down the spine. Our chest is out, hips raised slightly higher than the knees, eye level, looking straight ahead, shoulders are over the bar, slight arch in the back. From here, the pressure is placed on the back of the ball of the foot towards the middle of the foot. Elbows are pointed towards the end of the bar, always pointed out. Wrists are curled in, knuckles are down, and make sure that we drive the platform down 6 inches to separate the bar, and the hips and shoulders, make sure they're moved together. And we've all seen this when players or in any kind of athlete tries to take the ball off the ground, we see a lot of times that the hips were raised before the shoulders do. And that we cannot have. The shoulders and the hips have always got to move at the exact same time. And remember, you cannot start wrong and finish right. All right, most of the lifts are missed off the floor. So after we've completed the first pull of the clean, we transition past the knees. And our style, we want to drive the knees out around the bar. As right here in the picture, you can see how Matt Bruce, one of my other mentors, is driving his knees out very, very violently around the bar to be able to put his body in better leverage, be able to produce more power. And a little side note, if you don't know about Matt Bruce was pound for pound the best lifter that Coach Hatch ever had. He had the highest Sinclair. And as you can see right here, he's pretty yoked. So we want to keep the bar crosses over the knees, hips are activated and brought forward until the bar reaches the power position, which is the upper third part of the thigh. During this time, though, our posture has got to maintain. We've got to keep that arch in the back. Our eye level has got to maintain straight, and our wrists have got to be able to stay curled in. And a big problem that I see all the time is after contact, the wrist breaks. And when the wrist breaks, that causes more of a swinging motion in the bar and messes up your bar path. The elbows are pointed out to the bar, and that is so important because that helps prevent an early elbow bend and also allows us to have a much more smooth transition underneath the bar. As we go through our pull, our pressure changes from the back of the ball of the foot towards more the middle and closer to the heel as we get more vertical in our pull. Through here, we want to keep the bar in contact with the legs throughout the pull. Keep the arms as straight as possible. Remember, the arms, nothing but steel rope. They're just connecting us to that bar. And the second pull, as most of us know, is the fastest part of the lift. And we've got to be extremely, extremely violent. So on the first pull, we're going to separate the bar from the floor, nice and controlled, driving the platform down 6 inches. Through the transition, we want to be able to accelerate past the knee into the second pull. And then with a violent second pull, activating those hips and a gain of velocity on the barbell, keeping our technique. And then the second pull continued here. This is a little more detailed. At the power position, our hips are now brought forward and up to the transition of the jump shrug, also known as the scoop. And this has got to be extremely, extremely violent. You don't have time to think. This comes through tens and 20,000s of reps throughout time. And at one of my favorite cues at the end, I'll let you read through all this, but one of the cues that's helped me out the most is hips toe shrug. That is going to be the rhythm that we want our athletes to have. If you get on your toes too early, it's going to mess up your bar path and we're going to lose power. So the first thing we want to initiate is the hips. Then we want to go up to our toes, get completely vertical, and we want to finish with a shrug. We want to be 4 inches taller on our toes with traps to our earlobes. And then Chad Vaughn said, pull so long that it feels wrong. And over here on the right, this right here is just all those cues kind of broken down a little more simpler. So again, wrists are curled in, our elbows are pointed out to the bar. Keep the bar in contact with the legs throughout the pull. We want to finish the pull, make sure the athlete gets as tall as possible with a big shrug, pinch that pull at the top, and making sure that bar stays close to the body as possible. And then do not come up on the toes soon during the pull. Stay flat-footed as long as possible. The longer that we were able to stay flat-footed, the more power that we're going to be able to generate upward, which is going to help us create more velocity. Without velocity, you don't have a good lift. So this right here is just a picture of the second pull using the snatch and the clean. As you can see how similar they are. But you can see right here, Matt, he's staying back as long as he possibly can. The torso is vertical. He has a slight elbow bend here, but he's doing a pretty good job to continue to drive force into the ground. And finally, the third pull, the clean. This is where we actively relocate ourselves on the bar into the receiving position. One thing we want to make sure of, though, we are not falling. We are not dropping onto the bar. We are shifting onto the bar. So after full extension in the end of the pull phase, we shift from hip width to shoulder width. And this has got to be a violent shift. Coach Hatch always said that there is power in the shift. When you do this, make sure that the bar is traveling straight up the chest. Excuse me. Bar is traveling straight up to the chest. We're going to rotate our elbows on the bar into the front squat as fast as possible into the rack position. When we do this, we want to have a more relaxed grip, catching the bar with 4 to 3 fingers in contact with the bar. This is going to be determined based off your flexibility through your forearms and your wrist. On the catch, we want to make sure that we meet the bar and guide it down. Here we want to use our, in the squat clean, we want to use our legs as shocks. Where in the power clean, we want to use our legs as like an e-brake. So here we want to be able to catch the bar at parallel or a little bit higher and be able to guide the bar down. Again, if we're just dropping on the bar, that bar is going to come down, it's going to crash, and it's going to rock the athlete. If you watch the Olympics, some very high level weightlifters, they can catch the bar in a very low position. But again, they have been practicing this since they were 8 years old. And they've gained that confidence to be able to get that low and that strong in that position. Among the catch, we want to make sure that we keep our low back tight, our chest is up, and stand up just like the front squat and reposition necessary if we're going into the clean and jerk. And very important though, when you're going into the Olympic lifts, you need to know how to miss the weight properly. If an athlete does not understand how to miss the weight properly, they go for those big lifts, it is going to hurt their confidence. So I would highly suggest that you practice missing lifts. That way, when the time comes, you get in a bind, you know how to stay confident, calm, under control, and miss without injury. Here's just a clean sequence, as you can see, going from the first pull all the way to the catch. So as you can see right here, she is taking the bar off the floor in the first pull. You can see how her hips and her shoulders rise together through the entire first and second pull. Eyes are staying straight ahead, hips and shoulders, slight arch in the back, and see how close that barbell is staying to her body. Once she makes a contact in the power position, you can see how her heels are still flat on the floor. After contact, she continues to drive upwards, driving force through the ground, and then through her third pull and her pull under, how violent she's actually being, and then catching at about the parallel level and meeting and guiding the bar down. Right here, assistant exercises for the clean. This is just a few examples, but again, the back squat is the king of all exercises. You cannot replace the back squat. In my mind, it is the single, if you do nothing else but the back squat, you will better your mind, your body, and your soul. From there, the front squat. Again, a front squat is one of my major and my main assistant exercises for the clean. The power clean, a power clean with front squat, again, 2 breaths, 2 movements, and then all your positional works. You can also go into muscle cleans, clean pulls, clean grip deads, shrugs, RDLs, box step ups. And guys, these are just a few of the assistant exercises. Last time I made my list, I think I was up to 47, 49 assistant exercises just for the clean. Okay. And one thing I want to drive home here is how important the clean pull is in the hatch system. So I know a lot of people have a different way of programming and a lot of checking boxes. And some people will say, well, if you're doing a clean, whether it be a power clean or a squat clean, 3-position clean, whatever that day, some will say, what is the point in doing a clean pull? It is the same movement, it's the same pattern. What is the point? And while that is true, in the hatch system, the clean pull is an assistant exercise to the clean. So for every clean that you do in the hatch system, you're going to do at least 1 pull per clean. Okay, so example for the guys that went through the hatch system on a brutal Friday, you know you're going to do about an hour worth of cleans. You're going to work up into a heavy double, then you're going to start back over, work all the way back up into another heavy double at 90+%, and then you're going to follow up with clean pulls, 4 sets of 5 up to 105%, followed by clean pulls from below the knee, and it just continues to build. But the reason that's so important is if you neglect the clean grip pulls, you're going to see a lot of the guys, when they go to do cleans, they're going to be very weak off the floor. And you're going to see a lot of the guys doing that RDL style clean, where the hips are shooting up off the floor, putting themselves in bad leverage, and then trying to get the bar to the shoulders. And it's going to create a lot of swing in the bar, a lot of stress in the lower back. You're losing speed, you're losing power, and you're just putting your body in a bad situation. You're going to have a lot of tight backs. So in this system, the clean pull is necessary. You've got to do it. So every day that we do a clean, we're going to follow up with clean pulls. After we get through all of our clean progression, and again, this would be 1 day. So example, on Monday, like I said, we're going back squat, we're going front squat for an hour and a half. On Tuesday, we're going to come back and we're going back squat, we're going front squat again, just to drive home the points that we made and to groove that movement pattern. We're not going to do it for that long, probably hit 3 to 4 sets each. And then we'll go into those cleans. We'll hit that. And then next, we'll start into the snatch. So again, the snatch will be on day 3, Monday squatting. Tuesday, we're going to retouch it, work on the cleans. And then day 3, we're going to do all that over again, abbreviated, and then go into the snatch. This right here is Lydia. She's a G. So the next phase is the snatch in the first pull. And as you'll notice, the snatch pull is almost identical to the clean grip pull. The only thing different is your grip. And your grip is going to dictate your power position. So from here, we're going to measure out our grip. We're going to make sure our feet are hip width. Our bar is going to be placed over the middle of the foot. We're going to secure the grip with a hook grip. And the hook grip, if you don't know, is just simply, this is the barbell, wrap the thumb over the top, knuckles down. The hook grip is going to give us a much more secure grip, which is going to give us more velocity on the bar. More velocity on the bar means more power. More power means more potential to put your foot, strip somebody's ass. Next, we're going to set that back. We're going to pinch the shoulder blades, create a steel rod down the back with our chest out. Our hips are going to be slightly above our knees out, knuckles down. Weights in the middle of the foot, elbows pointed out towards the weight. And then we're going to drive that platform 6 inches down, staying nice and controlled with our hips and our shoulders together. The second pull, after we transition past our knees, these pictures on the right shows the beginning of the second pull and the end of the second pull. So as the bar crosses over the knees, our hips are activated and brought first forward until the bar reaches the power position. Again, the upper third part of the thigh. The snatch is going to be along that waistline. Making sure that we keep that arch in the back, eyes are straight, and again, the wrists curled down. You've got to have a strong grip. Maintaining the elbows out towards the weight, as you can see, Klokov and Matt as well doing a great job of that here. From here, again, the pressure is going to start changing towards the middle of the front of the foot. Towards the ball of the foot, back towards the heel as we get more vertical and keeping the bar close to the legs throughout the pull and keeping the arms straight, again, like steel rope. And then finally, the third pull. This, to me, the snatch is, it's the fastest lift in the world. It's called gymnastics with weights. I know Matt was laser timed one time with 300 pounds, I think, at a body weight of 185. And he was recorded from the floor to overhead at 0.94 seconds. And people, that is lightning fast. And again, the third pull, this is where we're actively relocating ourselves onto the bar into the receiving position. And even though the snatch is turned more of a finesse lift, all right, where I guess the clean could be considered more of a brute strength. If you don't have all the technique, you might be able to get away with a few errors because you're so strong. The finesse does not give that leeway. All right, the snatch is so technical and so violent. Whenever you go into the catch position, you've got to drive up and out on the bar so violently that you're trying to rip that barbell in half to be able to keep the stability in that bar and nice and stable overhead. And here you can see the snatch sequence, okay? Nice and tight, shoulders slightly over the bar, driving the platform down 6 inches under control until we reach the below the knee position. And once we reach that below the knee position, we're going to drive our knees out, transition past the knees, and start accelerating through the second pull. Notice again, as he's making contact here on the top far right, his heels are completely into the ground, driving as much force into the platform as possible. From here, on the far left of the bottom, you see how extended he actually gets. His eyes are still straight ahead, full extension to the ankle, the knee, and the hip. Notice how the knuckles are still curled down and how vertical he's getting. And then he pulls himself under the bar actively, not jumping, not dropping, not falling, but shifting violently onto the bar. And then once he catches, punching up and out, nice and stable with the bar right behind the ears, over the spine, all the way down to the bottom, full control, then standing up to finish the lift. And here are just a few assistant exercises for the snatch, okay? And again, right here, the first things you see is the back squat and the front squat. And you might say, Big Tony, what does that have to do with the snatch? Well, it's strength, plain and simple. If you don't have the fundamental base strength, then the snatch is going to get exposed. You've got to be strong, but then you got to put all the other attributes into play. From there, the overhead squat, the 3 and 3s, all the presses, the muscle snatch. Again, guys, the list goes on and on and on. And from here, the jerk, okay? Now the jerk is last, and the reason we do it, last, you go from the clean and you practice the pull, you practice the catch, you've got your footwork down. And it's a very easy transition to go from the clean to the snatch, because now all the athletes understand the rhythm, they understand the positions, they understand the movements. So it's a really easy transition to go from the cleans to the snatches. And last is the jerk. And the jerk is known as the most technical lifts because there's such a tremendous amount of weight. The bar is moving at such a high speed, and there's so little room for error. The majority of the reason that the jerk is missed is simply based off trajectory. The book, The Management of a Weightlifter, goes into this. I think in competition, it says like 93% 90 to 93% of lifts on the jerk are missed just simply off the trajectory. So the first thing after we stand up from the clean, or if you're doing a jerk from the rack, is the rack position. Once we do this, guys, our eye level's got to be straight. We've got to have a big chest. Our stomach's got to be really tight. Our clean grip, our slightly wider, keeping all fingers in contact with the bar. This should be a loose grip. All right. It wants to be firm, but loose. All right. This ensures that the bar is resting on the shoulders for efficient energy transfer, and also will take the strain off the wrist and the elbows up. Some athletes require more flexibility and work to get in this position, obviously, especially when you're dealing in our world, football players. It can be a struggle. It takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. And the elbows up and out in the right position, much better position for transferring the power from the legs to the bar, and arms in more advantageous position to get the catch position. And it's a much shorter distance for the bar to travel. So once we've established a good rack position, the next is the dip. Now from here, a lot of things can go wrong. As simple as the movement is, the dip, again, I say there's no room for error. All right, from here, our feet, our hip width, slightly wider depending on that athlete. We want to take that deep breath in. We want to hold, brace everything nice and tight. And the dip, as we go down, it has got to be straight down. If we go forward or back at all, it is going to ruin our bar trajectory, making it much more difficult to complete the lift. As we dip down, we want to make sure that we are bouncing our midfoot towards that heel, be controlled in the dip. And this is going to vary depending on your athlete. All right, the general rule is just 4 to 6 inches. So coming down, nice and controlled, maintaining our attention through our pillar or core, and getting ready for the next phase, which is the drive. All right, so as we drive up, we want to keep both feet into the floor till we get fully extended through the hips, the knees, and the ankles. All right, we want to dip and drive. And as we drive, we want to move the bar up and back, not forward. A lot of times you'll see people going to the jerk. When they go into it, you'll see a major hop forward. We want to avoid that. We want to drive the bar up and back, behind our ears, over our spine. And when driving the bar, excuse me, when driving the bar up and out, if they drop, the bar trajectory will go forward. Arms should only be used for catching. Once we catch, we want to make sure we drive the head through. And the phrase that we use is driving the head through the window. So if you're to put both arms up, put your head through, the arm should act as a window frame. You want to be able to put your head through the window so you can see out both sides. And when you catch the bar should be finishing behind the ears again, bone on bone position, making sure everything is stacked. As you drive the arms to the catch position, the elbows drive up and out, not straight up. It's less efficient and much more awkward. And remember, in the jerk, the arm should only be used in the catch. It should be to drive yourself under the bar and to be able to catch the bar overhead. Everything else is leg drive. So the catch position, what is the catch position? I don't want to go into too much detail here because everybody has their own style. So I don't want to sit here and say that back knee needs to be at 120 degrees, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody has their own style, but the fundamentals do remain the same. So the front foot should be about 1.5 steps in front. The back foot should be 2 full steps in the back. And we want to slam the front foot forward. We want to hear it. The cue that I like to say is step into the weight. And again, if you think the athlete is moving too slow, if his feet are slow, if the bar is moving too slow, again, we want to hear the foot. Step into the weight. Once we go into our split, we want to make sure that our legs do not cross. We want to stay in that same plane. They should move in a straight line. The coaching tool. Everybody has different ways. You can put tape on the floor. You can use chalk. Do whatever you need to do. But make sure that you never get out in front in the catch. Once you do get the bar overhead, we want to shrug up, draw the barbell up through the ceiling, and make sure that both feet are coming in contact at the same time. Now, is this possible? No. And in all honesty, the back foot probably should hit a little before, but the coaching cue, we want both feet to hit at the same time. And once the feet hit, everything should stop. All right, everything should stop. Everything should be nice and tight, hitting the E-brake. And in the catch, again, keeping the body tight. In the recovery, we want to go front foot, back foot, down. Again, I say front foot, back foot, down. If you had to bring the back foot up first, that just tells me that the bar was too far out and forward, in front. If you have to go all the way back with your first step, that tells us that the bar path was too far back. You should be able to go front foot, back foot, down, keeping everything nice and balanced. And here you can see the jerk sequence. He's got a great rack position. You see how his elbows are up and out, bar on bone, feet are hip width with his knees unlocked. From here, he dips down. You see how violent he's being with his knees out, keeping a nice, strong power line. Hips goes down. You see a slight flex in the barbell. He maintains that rack position with his elbows up and out. He reverses his dip up into the upward drive, getting fully extended, and then driving, stepping into the weight, getting his head through the window, and then recovering completely balanced, front foot, back foot, down. And this right here is some assistant exercises for the jerk. And again, guys, this goes endless. I mean, split jerk behind the neck, power jerks, barbell strict pressing, push pressing. I mean, the list goes on, guys. Jerk pressing, which is simply going into a split stance and doing a strict press in front of the neck or behind the neck. Jerk recoveries is one of the all-time favorites. And then walkouts. And you can do walkouts with strict presses, push presses, or your jerks. And all that is whenever you complete the set, you keep the barbell overhead and you walk backwards and then forward for the given amount of space. And guys, that's pretty much the end of the presentation. That is a quick run through of how we teach it. And I didn't want to get too lengthy. I could talk about this for 2 hours if I'm not careful. So just trying to keep everybody on the same time frame. But I want to drive home one more time that this is not the only way to do it. It's just the way that we taught it in the Hatch Dome and the way that I've taught it at the other places that I've been when I was a head guy. And the thing I loved about how this flows is being a head guy at a small school, obviously you don't have a full staff. You don't have all the bells and whistles. And when I was first getting into this, I was traveling around, I was meeting different strength coaches and learning. They're like, oh, you need to be able to do this, do that. TRX rules are great. Well, when you don't have a budget, you've got to get creative about things that you can do to put the athletes in the best situation. And the great thing about this system is all you need is a bar and some plates. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to put yourself in a major, major advantage over most people in the country. So, Coach, you got anything that you want to follow up on there?
No, I'm going to hop in there and
right.
bring in the next speaker for next week.
Yes, sir.
Great job. All right. Appreciate it. Always we try to give the pitch to our next speaker. This guy's I mean, shoot, I can name tons and tons of things and say good things about this guy. He's a new father of about a 1.5-year-old daughter. When he's coaching, he's got the best coaching voice in the industry. Now, when I call him lately, I don't recognize his voice because he's not coaching. Everything's healed up in his throat and everything. So he sounds a little different. So you're not going to get the full effect of the best coaching voice in college strength conditioning. But this guy, I've seen him present at a couple places, and I'm sure he's going to bring something lights out on Thursday, but I'm hoping he's going to bring the one that I saw a couple of years ago at Summer Strong, and he kind of winked the other day that said he's going to bring that. So with further ado, here's Coach Kritzy here, and he's going to talk about what he's bringing next week on week 11. Should be episode 11. I'm sorry, week 6, episode 11 on Tuesday. Coach, you got it.
Hey, man, I'm thrilled to be a part of this thing. Really excited to be able to contribute to you and what you got going on here. I think it's huge that while we're all at home, we're keeping our blades sharp and we're doing what we can to move ourselves forward and sharing what we do. So I'm excited to share what I think that we do best at Kennesaw State. I had a unique opportunity to help build the program from scratch, and we've had some success in how we've gone about our business. So I'm looking forward to sharing our blueprint of establishing, and not only just establishing, but sustaining a championship culture of effort, attitude, and toughness. So we call it EAT in our building. It's well communicated. It's well understood by all of our players, all of our administration, everybody from top to bottom. Effort, attitude, and toughness is to us. And I'm going to teach you guys why that's important to us, okay, how about setting up our workouts and our training and our environment to maximize it, and then what specifically we do at Kennesaw to develop athletes who are fast, tough, and athletic, who embody effort, attitude, and toughness. So I'm going to bring that thing, a little bit of our past, a little bit of our history, talk about what we do, how we do it, and I'm thrilled to show it with Coach Alsmus and all this on this show.
Awesome. All right, guys. Next Tuesday, spread the word. We're bringing in the big dog to I'm telling you, this presentation it's something else that it raised hairs on my arms a couple years ago. You're going to feel a lot of really just real passionate things and just concrete things that they believe in. And it's really good stuff. Thanks, Coach. And we will see you.
All right, man. Looking forward to it.
Yep.